Hi, everyone. It's me, Aquarius Cain, the owner of Achieve Success Tutoring. And if you don't know who I am, I, of course, am the owner, the CEO, again, of Achieve Success Tutoring. I am the lover of learning, the giver of knowledge, and the overachiever. And I call myself that because I really, truly am the overachiever. If you're wondering why I'm all flashy and jazzy and everything, today is my anniversary, celebrating 15 years of marriage with my husband. And so we just got back from date night. And but I wanted to make sure that we were able to do our What's Up Wednesday. Didn't want to miss out because I just got started back last week, so I didn't want to take the next week off and not give you what you need. So welcome to everyone who is here. Thank you for joining us. If you were able to join us last week, oh my gosh, we had such a wonderful topic. We talked about parenting and fear, and it was amazing. And so I'm hoping and knowing that tonight will be just as amazing as last week. So what are we talking about? We are talking about, the topic is lazy boys. And I'm not using this as a topic to bash males by any means. So I don't want anyone to think that this is what it's about, because it is not. It is about the reason why I chose this topic, lazy boys, is because in my years of expertise and experience and being a parent of a male child, there are things that our boys do that are different from girls. And we know this. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus is, one of those concepts that's true. We are different in some aspects of things. And so I chose this topic because over the course of years that I've been running Achieve Success Tutoring, I have noticed that the boys have been the ones that the parents kind of have the most issues and difficulty with in certain aspects when it comes to their academics. Now, that's not to say that our girls don't have their fair share of problems, because yes, we do. But the boys are the ones that the parents seem to have the most difficulty and issues with. So I wanted to come on and I wanted to address that so that we can kind of begin to move forward, so we can have some tools to use to help our boys to matriculate and move forward and get out of what we call our lazy stage. Now, if you are not the parent of a boy, it's perfectly okay, because what we're going to talk about tonight can actually be utilized for any child, but I just want to specifically kind of go into detail about our boys themselves. So if you are here, let me know, say hey. And I thank you guys for joining. And then try not to be long tonight. And because, again, it is my anniversary, so I kind of want to continue celebrating afterwards. So, but again, we're talking about lazy boys. So what I want you guys to do is, let's start out by listing some characteristics or behaviors that you could do without as it relates to your boys or even your children, so to speak. So again, we're not bashing. If you're just joining me, we're not bashing our boys, none whatsoever. Okay, we are specifically speaking. It's kind of like the Black Lives Matter. Yes, all lives matter, but tonight we're talking about Black lives. So it's kind of like kids are lazy. Some kids are lazy, but tonight we're talking about our boys. So that's the way I really want you to kind of look at this. I don't want you to look at it in a sense of we are doing something different with our boys. So in the comments, if you don't mind, I would like for you to list some characteristics. First of all, say hey, so let me know you're here and who's here. And I want you to list some characteristics or behaviors that you could do without as it relates to your male children or your children as a whole. And then we're going to move into some more of that. So say hey, and list some characteristics or behaviors that you could do without, that we kind of want to work on, we want to improve, or we just flat out don't really like. So go ahead. I'm going to give you guys a few minutes, and I'm going to talk about, I'm going to think hard about just some behaviors that I can do without, that my son does. One of the things is, this is probably all children, but one of the things my son does is when he needs something from myself or my husband, he will, instead of getting up to come to us, he'll just yell continuously, right? Mommy, come here, daddy, come here. That type of thing, instead of just coming to us. And he'll just continue yelling instead of, again, just coming to us. So that's one of the things that, if we can kind of curve that, change that, do something a little different with it, that I would like to see a change in, just kind of showing a little bit of effort in, just get up. Just get up, come to us and say what you want or what you need, instead of just laying there waiting for us to come to you. Now, I, for one, don't come to him, but that's not to say that my husband doesn't, and I think that kind of continues to feed the behavior as well. But that's one of those things. So what are some other issues that you guys have? So I'm going to I'm going to go over just a couple, maybe about 3 things that kind of contributes to what we call our lazy boy syndrome, so to speak. One of those things is a lack of motivation. Okay, so if you are a parent of a child who experiences a lack of motivation, then comment below. Say, hey, it's me. My child is unmotivated. So let's talk about what that is and what that looks like as well. So a lack of motivation, or the child that just, I don't care. They kind of just, they don't care about anything. And I'm not going to put it all on the teenagers, but I think a lot of times it is when they get to that age of becoming a teenager or a preteen, where they get into that I don't care stage, or that I just don't want to do. I'm completely capable, but I just don't want to do. So tell me about some of those things that you are experiencing with your child as it relates to their motivation. Is your child motivated? So a lot of times what we do in terms of parenting, is in terms of motivating our children, we have this old school way of thinking that we shouldn't have to motivate our children. They should automatically be motivated. And I think we kind of think we probably were when we were younger, and our parents didn't do anything extra to get us motivated. And so our children should be the same exact way. Or you'll hear people jokingly say, well, the belt motivated me, or, that other form of discipline or corporal punishment was what motivated them to do what they needed to do. And our parents didn't have to do anything else. But we do have to understand that our children are different. They really are. And so the way that we parent, the way that we do things needs to kind of be slightly different, because those particular ways, won't necessarily give us the greatest results without the greatest amount of stress. So when we want to take this approach in terms of attacking motivation and making sure we motivate the unmotivated or the lazy child, we want to make sure that we are doing it in a way that's going to be successful, that's going to be effective, and all of that. And if it's not going to be, then it's a waste. It's a waste of your time. It's a waste of your energy. And you're probably only going to be more frustrated. Okay? You're only going to be more frustrated. Another thing in terms of that lack of motivation is to know and understand that it's not necessarily a lack of motivation. It's a different type of motivation. And this is where you're going to have that aha moment. So some are motivated to resist. So yeah, they're motivated, but they're motivated to resist you. They're motivated to withdraw from you. They're motivated to underperform. And that's a sense of acting out. Okay. So that's a sense of acting out for them. And so you have to recognize and realize that. So if your child is backing away, if your child is resisting, if your child is withdrawing, if your child is refusing to perform at a level that's up to their potential, I want you to begin to recognize that as a sign of acting out. They're doing it deliberately. They're doing it deliberately. Just like a child that normally acts out, it's deliberate. It's to get a response out of you. A lot of times it's to get you frustrated, so you'll say, you know what? Never mind. You know what? I give up. You know what? I'm not doing this with you. And you walk off, and guess what? They win. But now the reaction for you in terms of how to combat that is not necessarily to push back in that sense. And we're going to talk about what some of those solutions are. But so for one, with our lazy boys or our lazy children, we're dealing with the lack of motivation. And some of them are motivated to just be rebellious. And I'll be the first to admit I was a rebellious child, and I kind of am a rebellious adult too, which is why I own my own business. I'm just kind of rebellious by nature. So you have to kind of understand and recognize that within your child as well. If you're just joining, say, hey, let me know who you are, and tell me about your lazy boy or your child, or some things that are not necessarily cute that your children are doing that you may want help with. Another thing about our boys is their priorities are different. So we have to get them to buy into the value of doing well. We have to get them to buy into the value of succeeding and achieving academically. We have to get them to buy into that value and that whole because you have to, because I did it, because in the real world, that's not a motivating factor for them, and it doesn't resonate as a priority to them. So you have to make sure that you get them to buy into the value of being successful, of doing well, of putting forth their best effort, and being responsible and all of that. So and again, we're going to talk about some of those solutions, some of those ways to combat that as well. And then the third thing is when you force them to do, especially when they're being lazy, it tends to make it worse. I want the parents that are watching, I want you to comment below. When you force them to do, has it made it better or has it made it worse? Sound off on that. Let me know about what's happening in your household with your children or your boys. If you're forcing them to do this or do that or whatever because they're just refusing, do you win in the end? Do you cause more frustration upon yourself? Do you cause a rift in terms of your relationship between yourself and your child or children? You know, what's happening? What's really going on in that aspect of it? So let me know, please, if you don't mind commenting below. So forcing them tends to make it worse, in my opinion, but I do want to see what your opinions are as well. Punishing them, preaching to them, threatening them may be counterproductive to what you actually want. So that value that you want in the end, or that result that you want in the end, you may not get exactly that by threatening them. Or you may get it temporarily. You may not get what you want by preaching to them, or you may get it temporarily. You may not get what you want by punishing them, or you may get it temporarily. So we're looking for long-term solutions, not temporary things, and not things that are going to be counterproductive. Also, you want to be careful with projecting your frustrations, your fears, your anxiety onto your children. So a lot of parents, by the time they come to me or when we're talking, and I'm doing some guidance and some counseling with them, with our particular clients during our tutoring sessions or afterwards, and the parents are expressing their frustrations and we're talking about it. You have to be careful. Those frustrations, your anxieties, your fears, you got to be careful with projecting them onto your kids and using that also as a tool or a fear factor or a force factor, because do you think honestly they're going to automatically wake up and change because you are pushing your frustrations on them? I'm just really frustrated with you right now and I just really need you to do better. Do you really honestly and truly think that that's going to create the change that you're looking for? Your fears, if you're afraid that they're going to fail, projecting that, if you don't do blah, 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 you're going to fail. Honestly, do you think that that's going to help in terms of getting that particular behavior change? Be honest and real with yourself about that. And then your anxiety, that stress that is brought upon you because of their lack of doing what they know they need to do and what they're completely capable of. So pushing your anxiety onto them, do you honestly think that that's going to automatically create change in them? So let me know, about that. So let's talk about some solutions. And this is where you really want to this is where you really want to take notes, because this is going to be some really good stuff about the solution. So just recap for those who are just now joining. We talked about our boys, our lazy boys, so to speak. And again, we're not bashing. Sometimes there's a lack of motivation. Their priorities are just completely different. They don't value the same things that we value, and they don't number things the way that we would number them in terms of importance. So, hanging out with their friends, talking on the phone, playing their video games, playing sports, those things are sometimes going to have a priority over doing well academically, studying, and those types of things. And then forcing them to do what you want them to do sometimes tends to make it worse. And I know some of you are like, whatever, it worked for me when I was growing up and my parents did this and that or whatever. But my question is it working now? So again, sometimes we have to sit and we have to reevaluate our tactics and make sure that we are coming up with a practical approach that's going to be effective and efficient for our particular children, who are not going to respond to things the same way that we responded to things. So let's jump into solutions, and I'm actually going to type them in so that you guys will have them as well. So one of the solutions in terms of how do you motivate your child, how do you get your lazy child out of that spirit of laziness, one of the things you want to do is you want to be a team. A lot of times that rebellious nature, that being motivated to resist, a lot of times because you guys are not on the same page. You're not on the same page. So you need to create a team. You need to let your children know, hey, I'm here for you. I want nothing but the best for you. I'm on your team. I'm not against you at all. And you sometimes have to reiterate that, because if you're just going in on them every time they do something wrong, they're going to feel like you're not a team. They're going to feel like you're waiting for them to fail. And so why put forth the effort? Why put forth the effort? So you need to show a united front with your child. You need to be a team with your child. And to do that, you have to stay positive, right? I know sometimes we just want to, I know sometimes we want to fuss because we're frustrated. We want to get it out. And sometimes it's just not the right way to go about it. So stay positive in your approach with your child. If you want a positive result, you want to try to remain positive. Remain calm, right? Be open-minded. Be ready to listen to your child. Have an actual conversation. So don't have it where if they're screwing up and if you feel like they're being lazy, where it's a talk session where you're doing all the talking and they're doing all the listening. Hi, Jeremy. Am I on your team? Yes, we are definitely on the same team. Cheese. Okay. He's so silly. Jeremy's one of my good friends. We grew up together. So you want to be on the same team. You want to stay positive. You want to be open minded. They are what they're dealing with in their world is different from what we grew up with. And you got to be open minded. You got to understand. You got to be willing to listen and be ready to understand. Remember, communication is more about understanding than it is about speaking. So be ready to listen to them wholeheartedly. And I think when you show them that you are really honestly and truly there to listen, they're more likely to actually speak. So if you come in fussing and say, what do you have to say? What do you think you're going to get out of it? Nothing. Because when your parents did that to you, did you have much to say? Absolutely not. Because at that point, there's nothing you can say that is going to please your parents. So again, stay positive. Build a good relationship with your child. I think the better relationship you have with your child, the less likely they are going to be lazy. The less likely they are going to not work up to their potential. They're going to slip sometimes, but consistently, because you're going to know them, they're going to know you, they're going to know and understand your expectations, you're going to know and understand their capabilities and abilities, and then you guys are going to mesh and you're going to get more out of them, right? Than you would taking a different approach. So work on, if you are in that part where your teen is rebellious or your child is rebellious, they're unmotivated, they're underachieving, I want you to first start with building a relationship with them and let me know how that works. So remember, your job is to help them learn how to be responsible. Okay, and nagging and doing all of that, it doesn't help them to be responsible. And so at the end of the day, you don't want an emotional reaction from them. If you give an emotional response, you're going to get an emotional response. You don't want an emotional reaction, but you want rational thinking from your child through problem solving. So this is where you sit down and you ask them, you talk to them, hey, tell me what's going on with you. Is something going on in school? Are you understanding? What do you think you need to do differently? Are you okay with the grades that you're receiving? Do you think you can do better? So talk to them, listen to them, problem solve. Don't solve the problem for them, but just ask questions in a way that would get them to thinking about what they can do differently, because you want to hear it out of the horse's mouth. You want them to say what you know all along, but you got to get them to the point where they're saying it. Because when you say it, it's different. But when they say it, you can say, okay. That's interesting that you said that, because I was thinking the same thing. I'm thinking, yeah, I don't think you're, ask questions like, do you feel like you're working up to your potential? Do you feel like you're giving your best? What is it that you think is keeping you from getting A's or B's? Or, whatever the case may be. What is it that's keeping you from studying every day? What is it that you need? How can I help you? So do more of a question and answer session than a fuss and frustration session. So that's the first solution. The second solution to getting our lazy boys to become more motivated is to go with the concept of earn versus automatically get. So in other words, what they receive is going to be on your terms or what you guys have agreed upon in terms of terms. So the things that they like, the things that they enjoy. Remember, we talked about building a relationship with your child and getting to know them. Once you get to know them, then you can kind of work on that earn versus automatically get. Stop giving your kids everything. And again, in a couple weeks, we're going to talk about how you giving your kid everything actually hinders them. It's counteractive. It's counterproductive, right? So you want to have them to earn things. So getting to know what they like, what they value. Most kids nowadays, they love their technology. So leverage it. This is what they value. So they don't automatically get it. They have to earn it. If your child is playing sports and that's what they value, they don't automatically get to go to practice. They don't automatically get to play. They have to earn it. Stop giving them everything. All right. So here's a statement. Here's something that you can do or say in terms of when you're leveraging what they like and setting those rules and being consistent. Is you can have a statement like this: when this is complete, then you can do this. So if they like playing video games, okay, when you finish your homework, then you can play Fortnite. When you are done studying, then you can do this. When you are done with the dishes, cooking, or whatever the case may be, then you can do this. But it's an earning. And so guess what? If they don't want to earn it, then we're going to talk about that as well. But it's going to get you. So this is where it's on your terms. Or again, you guys can sit down and discuss agreed upon terms. So you can say, and I want you guys to do this before the school year begins. Have that system in place. Have this conversation now so that when school gets started, they understand the expectations. So when school gets back started, you're not doing video games. You're not doing this, or you're not doing that, or you're going to earn the right to play basketball this season, and it's going to be based on your performance at the beginning of the semester. So, and I understand that this is important to you. However, I need you to understand that your academics are equally as important. So if you're going to be lazy and unmotivated and rebellious and withdraw and resist and underperform in your academics, you don't get the opportunity to overperform or overachieve in your athletics, in your sports, or playing the video game. Because I need you to, what did they say? Bring that same energy that you bring to playing games, that same energy that you bring to being on the phone, to texting, to being on Snapchat, to being on Instagram, to playing your sports. You need to bring that same energy to your academics and let them know that it's expected. And if they are not bringing that same energy, they don't even get the opportunity to do these extra things that they enjoy as well. And that's a conversation that needs to be had now, because that's an expectation. Okay, Nene says, I have already had this talk. Nene, how did that talk go? What did you guys decide on? What was the thing that they loved the most that you are going to now leverage as well? The other thing is, so again, use rewards based on his likes. So for your boys especially, whatever their likes are, use rewards based on that. Okay, so if you are able to consistently do your homework every night of the week, then you'll get extra playtime on Fortnite. You'll get extra this, you'll get extra that, or whatever the case may be, something that they enjoy, and then leverage that. Because again, what we're doing here is we're teaching discipline. Keep in mind, your children still have things they need to learn. Sometimes as parents, we have these high expectations for our children, and we don't realize that they're still in the learning and being taught phases. And so we're getting frustrated because those expectations are there, and we're not continuing to teach this to them consistently and constantly. And that brings me to the next point in terms of that earn versus automatically get, is you have to enforce it. Parents, we have to enforce it. You have to stick to it. You have to be consistent, because when you slack off, what are they going to do? Slack off. They're going to match you. They're going to meet you right where you are. So yes, you get tired. But if you start out, here's the thing. When I started teaching 15 years ago, I started teaching at the high school that I graduated from. And I went to some of my high school teachers and I asked them for advice. And here's what they said to me. Come in strong and strict. Okay? They said you can always loosen up, but it's going to be hard to tighten up. So once you've kind of had this easygoing parenting child relationship where they just get things because they want to, and there's no earning, there's nothing they've got to do to get it, and they've gotten used to that, it's going to be really hard to tighten up on that. So you have to start now before the school year gets in and start getting them used to it, because it's going to be a habit. So you're forming habits here. So what are we doing? We are helping them to be responsible. We are teaching them discipline. And to do that, we have to be disciplined ourselves. We have to be consistent. Okay, so Nene says she leveraged the iPhone. Cecilia, says I needed to hear this. Thank you for all the nuggets and solutions. And Nene said that's the hard part. It's only gonna be as hard as you make it, Cecilia. You're welcome. You're welcome. Nene, it's as hard as you make it. Okay, you're the parent. And you have to, at the end of the day, you have to consider what it is that you actually want. What's the end goal here? All right. And that end goal is not going to be easy to get there, but you can make it easier on yourself and your children if you do your part. Once you do your part, then it's going to make it easier for them to do theirs. But if they see that you're not doing their part, why should they do their part? Does that make sense? So you can't expect them to do their part if you're not going to do yours. If you're not going to be consistent, how can you expect your children to be consistent? Because they're watching you. You're teaching them in those moments of inconsistency as well as in those moments of being consistent. So either way, your children are learning from you. Okay? You are their first teacher. They're watching every move that you make. And they're saying, okay, so that's how you do it. Oh, okay, so that's how that works. Oh, okay, so I don't have to put forth that much effort. I don't have to care about it because mommy, daddy, or grandma, or whoever they're with, they don't really care that much because they're not making me do it, or, they're not making sure that it gets done. So you set the tone. You set the tone on how this is going to work, okay? And so I want you guys to start now. So you got a couple weeks before they start back school. Start practicing and getting them ready and getting them consistent. What you don't want to do is, bam, slap it on them the first week of school. And they're just like, I hate school already because I don't get these things. No, go ahead and gradually start weaning them off those things and start making them earn it. Hey, guess what? Starting next week, we got some new rules coming up in here. But you don't have to be a dictator either. You can let them and allow them to participate in that as well. So, hey, Alex, I understand that your iPhone is your most favorite thing in the world. However, there are some expectations and rules. Let's talk about it. So what do you think we should do in order for you to earn the right to use your iPhone? What do you think we need to do in order to earn the right to do this? And you guys just, again, remember we talked about building a good relationship. And the way to build that good relationship is to include them. When we grew up, we weren't included in anything. Our parents just told us everything. And so as we got older, we didn't know how to problem solve because we didn't get an opportunity to problem solve. Right? And so give your children the opportunity now to solve minor problems. And when they get to bigger problems, they will have that practice. Okay? Nene says, I'm learning that now. I was always the nice one. Now I have created schedules and rules, and it's something new and hard at times. Of course, anything that is good, new, change is hard. Change is uncomfortable because we've gotten used to what we've gotten used to. And whether it worked or not, we just got used to it. So you have to make sure that the consistency is always going to be the best. And you want to make sure that your attitude in terms of that change is going to be positive as well. So you can't be like, I know I said you guys got to go to bed at 9 o'clock, but I really don't feel like getting you ready for bed. So I guess you guys can stay up. Because that attitude that you're bringing in is going to project and reflect on them, and they're going to start acting the same exact way. So you've got to make sure that you are continuing to have a positive attitude even when you're tired. So that's where we've got to push through. All right, so solutions. Be a team player. Build a good relationship with your child. Stay positive, open-minded, and remember you are teaching them to be responsible. Earn versus automatically get. Enforce it. Stick to it. Be consistent. It teaches them discipline. All right. So we can't expect our children to go to school and behave well if we're not teaching them about discipline at home. So you want them to do their work in class. You want them to turn their work in on time. You want them to consistently perform and ask questions and participate and all that kind of stuff. It's going to start at home, and you got to be consistent at home. You're going to expect the same thing. So when they get to school, they're already used to it. right? Okay, I know I've got to turn my work in because there's an expectation at home to study. There's an expectation at home for this and that, and mom and dad or whoever, they're holding me accountable as well. Third thing is create structure, and Nini just talked about that structure. So having a schedule is always going to be a good thing. Always going to be a good thing. So a study schedule, homework schedule is going to be the best thing that you can ever do for your children. Okay. If you need assistance with that, we actually offer, through Achieve Success Tutoring, we offer an amazing study skills course called Study Your Way to an A. And our students actually get planners. It is an 8-week course, and it takes them through studying. It takes them through note taking. It takes them through time management, writing out their schedule, and so many other things that's necessary that they aren't taught. They just flat out aren't taught that. And so, if you're interested in that, if you're interested, or your child needs to know how to study, they need to know how to manage their time, they need to know how to take notes, turn in their homework assignments on time, or just overall be responsible academically, comment below and say, I need Study Your Way to an A. So that way I know who's interested and who needs it. All right. So creating a structured schedule is going to be important. And again, the Study Your Way to an A course will actually help your children to get to that point. So structure the video games, the time that they play. Structure the sports, have restrictions on their sports, or have scheduled times that they do these things. So it's not just about being structured in their academics, it's being structured in their extracurricular activities as well. Okay, so if it's, again, we go back to that, when this is complete, then you can do, right? And so when this is complete, then you can play your video games or get your iPhone, but only for X amount of time. So you still need to have structure and restrictions on that. Okay, Nini, I will get that information over to you as soon as we are done. So make sure that you're putting those time frames on there, because you do want to mimic what's important. So if you allow your children to play video games longer than they read, if you allow your children to play video games or play sports or whatever longer than they practice their multiplication or fractions or whatever the case may be, then you're kind of showing them in terms of priority what's important as well. Okay, and so you can't really expect them to choose to study longer because you're allowing them to do these other things. So you're allowing them to set the priorities in the wrong order. And so you have to teach that. And so creating that structure, what it helps them to do, it helps them to develop a good work ethic. Okay, and so you're teaching them so many things with these solutions. When you get to the school, meet with the teacher. This is another solution. And have a system of communication in the beginning. Okay, so if you know your child is going to slack off at some point, because a lot of times the children, either they'll slack off in the beginning and then they'll pick it up in the end and just have you about to have a heart attack the whole semester, or they'll start out strong and then slack off in the end. But whatever that pattern is for your child, you know it, you recognize it, you need to communicate that to the teacher and say, hey, let's go ahead and put together a plan of action now. And once your child knows that you and that teacher are a united front, then it protects them from kind of slipping, because they know that everyone's watching them. The teacher's watching them now. So set up a system of communication with the teacher. Are you guys going to email weekly or bi-weekly to check to see how he's doing? Is it going to be daily? Is it going to be monthly? Are you going to text? Are you going to expect a call every couple of weeks? You're going to call them. Do you want to have a quick conference every couple of weeks just to see where they are? Set up that system of communication the first day or the first week of school with the teacher, and make sure that you both are consistent in that. Let the teacher know what your expectations are, because you're trying to get your child to a certain level, and you're teaching him that. You're teaching him that it's important, and so you're going to be deliberate in putting in that time as well. You remember, you guys are a team, and that's what you're demonstrating. Be firm. Be firm. I think it was Nini who said something to the effect of, I'm the nice one. And you can be nice and firm all at the same time. Have rules, have consequences, but most importantly, stay positive. If you don't have those rules and those consequences in place, then your children are going to walk all over you. They're going to be rebellious. There's no expectation to complete or, comply for that manner. For that matter. And so then think about what it is that you're teaching them. You're teaching them that rules don't matter. You teach them that they don't have to comply, and that's going to carry out of your home. It's going to carry out into the classroom. It's going to carry out into the real world. So remember, you are your child's first teacher. So if you want to teach compliance, if you want to teach following rules to a certain extent, because we do want to give them that freedom as well, then it has to start at home, and you have to be consistent. You got to be firm. So if the rule is no this after this time, then no blank after that time. And that's it. We're not bending the rules. Now again, if that's going to be a reward, then you can negotiate or talk about a reward. Okay, well, if you consistently do this, then I will allow this, or we can discuss this after a certain time. Okay? So just keep that in mind. Do you guys have any questions? Because I've been talking. Do you have any questions? Any comments? Anything in particular that you need help with your children? Just let me know, and I will answer those questions. So any questions, any concerns that you have with your boys or your children altogether, them being unmotivated, them not reaching and working towards their potential, please go ahead and put those questions in the comment area for me as well. And then last 2 points in terms of your solutions would be aware of their anxiety. We get anxious, we get frustrated, but understand that your children do as well. And so make sure you're aware of that. Be aware of their academic struggles. If you know that they struggle, if you've seen them struggle, then what you need to do is get them help early versus later. One thing I cringe is parents who continue to wait. Well, I'm just going to wait and see. What are you waiting for? What signs are you looking for? What changes are you looking for? And what steps are you taking for those changes to happen? Because waiting is not it's not a good solution, because there's no action involved. It's a do nothing stage. And so when you go into a do nothing stage, again, keep in mind, everything that you do or don't do is teaching your child. So if your child is struggling, you know it, and then you don't do anything, what message is that sending to them? Think about that. What message is that sending to them? So get the help early versus later. Here at Achieve Success Tutoring, we can absolutely help. It doesn't matter where you live. We provide in-person tutoring in the Atlanta metro area and some other areas outside of that. We also provide online tutoring. So we meet our students live in our virtual classroom. And we have several other options as well. We have digital learning where we set them up. And I'll be glad to talk to you guys about that. If you're interested in getting more information, then comment below. I need more information about your tutoring. And then I'll be sure to get with you about that. So get them help if there's anxiety. If they're some kids have test anxiety, so they need help with that. If they're struggling academically, obviously they need tutoring. And then last but not least, don't overdo it. Okay? Don't overdo it with parent guilt or obsess over it. Sometimes we feel like we're failing as a parent, and that's another topic we're going to talk about in a couple of weeks. Sometimes we feel like we're failing as a parent, and so then because our kids aren't successful, then we start doing because we want them to succeed, and we find ourselves doing more and more to help them out. We're doing their work for them, or whatever the case may be, because we're now parenting in guilt, because we feel like we're failing them. So don't overdo it. It's not your fault, but if there's some things that you can change, then recognize that and then change that as well. So that is all that I have this evening. I hope that this was helpful for you guys. Please comment below and let me know what the benefits, if any of these solutions or these practical solutions that you can take to help motivate your unmotivated children, your so-called lazy boys or whatnot. let me know. So we're dealing with our lack of motivation. We're dealing with those priorities, making sure that you're not forcing them to do things, but taking those solutions about being a team, having them to earn things, creating structure, making sure you have a plan, and meeting with the teacher and communicating with the teacher, being firm, being aware of their anxiety and or struggles, and then just not overdoing it because of parent guilt. So I thank you guys so much for joining me this evening. I am going to enjoy the rest of my evening. Once again, it is my anniversary. If you need more assistance, feel free to go to our website at achievesuccesstutoring.com, and you can fill out the contact us form, or you can message us on Facebook and give us your contact information, and we'll be sure to set up an initial consultation with you guys. Hey, Terrence. Very good information. Going to try to put into action immediately. This is some good teaching. Thanks. Oh, you're welcome. You are absolutely welcome. If you guys have any questions, even after the live, then most certainly, thank you, Terrence. Most certainly drop those questions in there, and we'll make sure that we get to you. If you are interested in tutoring, comment that you're interested in tutoring. If you're interested in the Study Your Way to an A, comment, and then I'll make sure I get that information to you. Make sure you inbox us. Again, if you need any extra help, we're here. Again, the lover of learning, the giver of knowledge, the overachiever. I want your kids to be overachievers as well. Thank you, guys. You have a great night. I appreciate you. And next week, we are talking about, what are we talking about next week? I'll get that topic in there for you. I believe we're talking about feeling like you are failing as a parent. No. Next week, we're talking about how giving your kids everything that they need, or just giving your kids everything, how it hinders them. Okay? How it hinders them. So you want to definitely make sure you guys tune in every Wednesday at 9 for What's Up Wednesday. All right, you guys have a good evening. Good night.